Hi Girl Scouts, Jen here. Today we're going to learn how to sew a mask for the hospitals or for relatives that may be sick and want to, or we don't want to get them sick, so we can stay safe in all this COVID-19 craziness. So today what we have is we have two pieces of fabric. These are about 9 inches wide by 6 inches tall. Some hospitals have different recommendations, but this is the Deaconess Hospital pattern. This is what most of the hospitals around the country have been using. And you can find, I will post a link in the page below this video so that you can see the pattern. A little bit of fuzz there. So I've already ironed my fabric completely and cut it. You really want to iron your fabric first. Pre-wash it if you can, because then you'll get a nice even cut and it'll be much easier to do. So 9 inches wide by 6 inches tall. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the right sides, which are the prettier sides of my cassette tape fabric here, and we're going to put them right sides together. Bottom one up, top one down, because eventually we're going to be turning this. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple pins in here to secure it. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to put a couple pins in here quick. What we're going to do is start about halfway in the top part. So we'll start right here with our sewing. This is just to secure it so they don't get out of line. Get away from me. Okay, so we're gonna start sewing right about here. And this is so we can leave a nice gap to turn it later. So I'm putting my foot down. This is just a straight stitch. If you have a stitch length, it's about 2.5 on my machine, but normal stitch length, 2.5, 3.5 will work. I'm just positioning my fabric at the edge of the foot, okay? So we're gonna sew almost to the corner as soon as I can find my pedal. So we're gonna sew almost to the corner. It's gonna, if you don't have a knot function on your machine, you'll need to go back and forth a couple times. I do have a knot function on my machine, so I do not need to do that. See, it knots by itself. So we're gonna sew almost to the corner. There, we're almost there. Leave your needle down, and we're gonna put our foot up. And I'm gonna take out that first pin. So this is where we put our first bit of elastic in. And our elastics are about 7 inches long. This is 1/4 inch elastic. It's just a basic kind. This is an unbleached kind. That's why it's kind of a natural color. And as long as it's not too wide, any elastic you have will do. But you want a nice soft one so that it doesn't hurt the ears of the nurses. So we want to put it in between the two pieces of fabric at kind of an angle. You can have a little sticking out if you want. And we hold it in there. We'll put our foot back down and we're going to sew over top of it all the way to the end of the fabric. And then once we get about to the end, then we're going to go back up just a few stitches. There we go. Now we're going to go forward until we get almost to the end, not quite to the end. Now we're gonna, our needle's down, our needle is down, we're gonna put our foot up and we're going to turn it. This is our pivot. But the needle's down, that's what's holding it in place. Make sure that needle's down. Now get all your elastic out of the way because we don't want to accidentally sew some of that in there. Now, we're going to keep sewing down. We're going to try to keep that fabric. See how I went a little too far? But we're going to try to make up for it here. We're going to try to get it nice and lined up with the foot. So all the way down. Well, see, I'm coming off a little bit, so I'm going to adjust that just a little bit to make sure it's nice and straight. Straight, 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 straight. Okay, again, almost to the end. And then this is the bottom corner. So we're going to pull the bit of the elastic that was connected on the other side. We're going to connect it to this corner. Same way. It's the same piece of elastic. So have it just stick out of the corner just a teeny tiny bit. Make sure that you don't sew over it a little early. And then we're going to go all the way down to the end. Then back up a couple stitches. And then forward a couple stitches. Then we're going to needle down, foot up, pivot. All right, now this is a nice fast one because we're going to go, it's a big long one. So we're going to go just sew all the way down. This is the bottom of the mask, so it's a long way to go. I'm pulling that pin out, We're gonna go almost to the end. There we go, now we're almost at the end. I'm gonna pull that out so that I have more room to work with. You may have a little less room to work with as you sew it up, but don't worry. It'll be just fine. I have to find my other piece of elastic now. All right, here we go. Here's our other piece, and it's exactly the same. You're just gonna kind of feed it in there. Take the one end at an angle and hold it in there and go all the way to the end. Back up a few stitches. Go forward a few stitches. Needle down, foot up, pivot. We're getting really close now. I'm gonna push that in there so I don't sew over it. Okay, so now we're gonna sew almost the end again. This is just the same as the other side. Down, 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 down. Almost to the end. Pull the last little penny. Then pull this little guy out here. Same situation. We're almost ready for the magic, guys. All the way to the end. Back a few. Forward a few. Okay, now we're gonna pivot. Okay, so now we're back on the side that we started on, but we need to leave enough room for, you see how where I started right here? We're gonna leave enough room to turn it, so you need at least 2 to 3 inches. So I'd recommend at this point sewing maybe an inch, inch and a half, and then tying off. So I'm gonna hit my tie off button, but if you don't have a tie off button, you would go back and forth. All right, now I'm gonna lift my needle, pull it out. I'm gonna trim my threads. I'm gonna trim those ones while I'm at it. Okay, so now what we have is a big old rectangle, and we have the hole to pull it through. So this is, we're gonna pull it through, just kind of tuck it, tuck it, tuck it, tuck it, tuck it. Once you get here, then you'll see some elastic popping out. And actually, because we sewed it right into the corner, this is the easiest way to get those corners turned. Just pull at the elastic a little bit, gently. You don't pull it at it too hard. You don't want to pull it right out, because we're gonna reinforce that again in a minute. Look at that, we're almost a mask. So now you have this fun little hole here, and I want you to take it and kind of make sure that it's even. You'll have a little flappies that you're going to tuck in there a little bit. I want you to take your fingernails. This is called finger pressing. I want you to just kind of take your fingernails and squeeze that a little bit and run your fingernails along that so that it's kind of sharp. You can use an iron. You can press it by all means. You don't really have to. Okay, so now we're looking. I'm going to pull this out. You can finger press that if you want to as well. Now we're going to be making our pleats. And this is the most important part, but it's also the most tricky. So what we need to do is make 3 pleats so that it's smaller on the ends than it is in the middle. So what you want to do is take your fingers, maybe an inch, inch and a half apart, and I want you to squeeze so that you make a little wave, and then press it down. Okay, see that? We're going to do this a couple more times in case you get lost. Okay, so then I just want you to stick a pin in here to keep that press in place. And it's horizontally is the best. It'll keep it better than vertically. All right, now we're going to do the other side, pin it in place. I don't want you to worry about getting too close to the end, because the closer it is to the end, the less fabric you'll have flapping around on their chin or their nose. So you want to make sure it's actually pretty close to that end there. Okay, so then you're going to go right above where you can feel that fold underneath, and you're going to make another wave. So do this, pinch your fingers together and fold it over, okay? Then I'm going to stick a pin in there again, and you're starting to get nice little waves here. These little pleats. You can use an iron to keep this in place, but you don't have to. This is not a delicate fine art. We're not quilting anything. We're not going to have to worry about everything being exactly in position. Everybody's face is different anyway. Okay, now same deal. Put your little thumbs right here, right above that fold, and go almost to the top. You don't want to go all the way, just almost. Make a little wave and fold it down. I'm going to pin. Oops, I lost it, but then you can Do it just one more time. You see how much smaller that is now on this side? And we'll trim away any little fuzzies like that one right there. We'll trim that away later. These don't have to be exact. There's no rule here. The only thing that we want is that this ends up being much smaller than the whole width of the mask. Okay? All right, so now we have those pinned. We're gonna go back to the sewing machine and we're gonna start where we finger press this little hole again, okay? We're gonna start with that. And what we wanna do across the top and bottom, we don't want it all the way out here because otherwise we might not catch that. We wanna put it a little bit inside the inside of the foot right there. If you have these little red marks, that's really nice. This is called top stitching. Just a little tiny seam. And guide it so it's nice and even going through there. And we're going to sew all the way around. Knot it off first. Ah, pinned myself. Watch out for those pins. They're sharp and they're sticking out. Okay, this is where things get crazy. Go all the way to the corner. Not quite all the way, actually. Take that back. Maybe just a little bit from the corner because on the sides, I want a wider seam. I want the sides to be all the way to the edge of the foot. Okay, so this is where things get crazy. You have to be really careful you don't sew over any pins. I want you to take maybe 2 or 3 stitches just to get it pushed out and get it going. Then if you need to, keep the needle down and put the foot up to take that pin out. Hold it with your left hand, pull the pin with your right. Then sew a couple more stitches. Go really slowly, okay? Be careful that you don't sew over a pin. You do not want to do that. Take the next pin out. Hold it with your left hand. Keep this foot on the right side of the fabric there. Going, 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 going. All right, see how I'm going nice and slowly? There's no rush to this whatsoever. Now, we've got all our pins on that side out. We're gonna go all the way to the corner. Look at that. Okay, so we've got our first pins, our first pleats tacked down. Now this is the bottom, so we want to not be all the way to the side again. We just want to be that itty bitty little seam, that little top stitching. So just to the inside of the foot. Now we go all the way around. If you want to stop and straighten it out, you can at any time. Just make sure your needle's down so you don't lose your stitching. Just a little itty bitty guy. All right, you want to slow down towards the end. Watch out for those pins. Go almost to the end. Needle down, foot up, pivot. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold it with my left, pull the pin, take a few stitches, hold it with my left, pull the pin, take a few stitches very slowly, hold it with my left, pull the pin, take a few more stitches. We're getting there. We are almost there. Okay. Now go almost to the end. Now we've made it all the way around. We just have to pivot one more time. Okay, so now we're all the way back to the end. There's one more thing we need to do. We're going to go all the way around one more time just to make sure that everything is nice and solid. So try to follow your original stitch line. Again, nobody's looking for perfection here. They just need safety. So we're going to try to follow the line. The way I do that is make sure the line is in this little crevice right here, right where the needle is. So go all the way around. Like I said, nobody's looking for perfection here. Needle down, pivot. Now this is where you might have to follow a curve, but just very slowly. You're going to be just fine. And again, if it's off, it's fine. All the way to the end. Turn. Follow that little stitch line best you can. Almost there. Needle down. Foot up. Pivot. Follow that curve again. You're almost there, guys. Okay. One more pivot. Now we're going to knot off. I'm going to push my knot button. But either that or you just stop, take a couple stitches back, couple stitches forward, and then cut it. Needle up, foot up, pull it out. And we're gonna trim. Let's get that little piece of green fuzz off of there too, because that was bugging me the whole time. All right, look at that. Look at that gorgeous mask. So cute. Well, I mean, we're not going for cute, we're going for safe, but it is really cute too. That's how you do it. Thanks, Girl Scouts. Good luck.